a gang member as lethal as his name indicated. So big that even the police took 4 years to find him and put him behind bars, and yet the fight continued because they couldn't keep him trapped. Until finally, he was taken to the CECOT, a place that, seeking power, he ended up having a fate worse than he imagined. This is the story of __, the drug dealer who challenged Old Lynn before starting. Leave your feedback with the like button and subscribe to our stories. They'll surely catch you. Now, activate the bell so we can begin. __ was wanted by the police almost 4 years ago. His nickname appeared in dozens of wiretaps from an investigation into drug dealing in the Buenos Aires suburbs. But he couldn't go out with him because he had 2 identities and regularly changed cell phones. The case in which the Airport Security Police PS began in late 2018, following the trail of a group of occasional users who were carrying out handrails. At that time, the detective's main objective was to identify the different links in the drug distribution chain, deepening criminal intelligence tasks that, among other things, included wiretaps and surveillance. PSA agents managed to collect evidence on the resale circuit until they found the leader of the organization, a 46-year-old Peruvian resident in the town of Lomas del Mirador. They called him _. Although in some wiretaps, he also appeared to have the support of El Tío. According to the investigation, the El_gang distributed cocaine in various parts of the suburbs, but especially in the towns of Caseros, Harlingen, and Lomas del Mirador. Also in some neighborhoods of the city of among the alleged members of Buenos Aires, sources highlighted the figure of a Buenos Aires police officer allegedly linked to one of the dealers in the area of the 3 de Febrero district, who apparently collaborated by providing qualified information about possible operations or vehicle checkpoints, according to spokespersons. __, whose identity was not released so as not to hinder the investigation, had no dealings with most of the gang members. He only spoke and gave instructions to a small circle, including 2 men of Peruvian nationality and a woman who was allegedly in charge of obtaining the drugs for later resale. A fact that also caught the attention of investigators is that the cocaine they distributed in Greater Buenos Aires was not obtained in the main distribution centers in the city of Buenos Aires. For example, Villa 11114 in Bajo Flores, which is apparently historically linked to Peruvian drug traffickers. They bought it in the interior of the province of Buenos Aires. The sources consulted detailed that they made trips to the city of Pergamino. They left by bus, were on the way for a few minutes, and returned by car. A spokesperson involved in the investigation explained that the main members of the organization were identified. They intercepted a 308 pilot in the linear area with 3 occupants, all of them Peruvian nationals. One of them was __, according to sources. The Federal Criminal and Correctional Court of February 3rd, headed by Alicia Vence, ordered 19 raids. 3 in the city of Buenos Aires, 4 in Caseros. February 3rd, 2 in Lomas del Mirador, in La Tablada, and others in San Justo, Ramos Mejia. Hurlingham General Rodriguez Moreno, Merlo Parada, Robles, and Pergamino were arrested as a result of the proceedings. 12 people, according to spokespersons, seized 355.7 grams of cocaine, 34.2 grams of methamphetamine, 16 cannabis plants and seeds, 3 precision scales, 26.94 grams of pesos, 3,369 pesos, and 735 pesos, among other foreign currencies. They also seized 2 bill-counting machines, 3 cars, 5 firearms of various calibers, 61 rounds of ammunition, and 81 cell phones. Spokespersons indicated that __ also appears linked to bellboy Arvin Sanyan Rios, a Peruvian hitman who was arrested in 2017 in the Porteño neighborhood of Recoleta. Ali, observing, as he is known, had pending charges for aggravated robbery and drug trafficking. However, he is also accused of the murder of a Peruvian police officer. The result of the operation that ended with the arrest of __ PSA National Director Jose Galinsky highlighted the investigation's upward trend, from the operational base of the consumer and seller, through those in charge of planning the supply chain to the actor at the top of the criminal group, who was finally arrested and extradited. One might think that the only one with the power to escape from megaprisons is El Chapo. However, El Chapo was not far behind and managed to escape from prison on several occasions. This led to a tough but correct decision to support a proposal made by the president. Entity of the savior in that was that they give it to him, and that he would also make sure that he never saw. The sun again, words that truly resonate. Sometime later, the arrival of CECOT caused a commotion among the inmates and the guards. His reputation for cruelty and cunning had preceded him, and everyone knew that his presence would change the rules of the game in the prison. But what no one expected was the encounter he would have with another legendary inmate. Old Lin. Old Lin was a mysterious and feared figure in the CECOT. He had been imprisoned decades ago for atrocious crimes, but his true power lay in his mastermind and his ability to manipulate others. When and Old Lin met in the dark corridors of the prison, the atmosphere was charged with tension. The who was used to imposing his will on others, had not expected to meet such a rival. Formidable as Old Man Lin was from the very first moment, he felt an instinctive antipathy toward the elderly inmate. Old Man Lin, for his part, seemed to despise seeing him as an arrogant young man who didn't understand the true meaning of power. As the days went by, the relationship between and Old Man Lin became increasingly tense. Tried to gain the respect of the other inmates through intimidation and violence, but Old Man Lin remained steadfast in his contempt for him. For Old Man Lin, was simply a pawn in a much larger game, but as they say in chess, even pawns can kill a king. By the way, if you enjoy the video, we invite you to give us your like and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. We continue. The attack on Old Man Lin in the dark of night. Stealthily slipped through the corridors of the cot, his heart pounding. In his chest, he had planned every detail of his attack on Old Man Lin, hoping to eliminate his rival once and for all and claim absolute control over the prison with a makeshift knife in hand. Stealthily approached Old Man Lin's cell. The elderly inmate slept peacefully, oblivious to the danger that loomed over him. With a swift and precise movement, lunged at his prey, ready to finish him off once and for all. But Old Man Lin was not an easy enemy to defeat. With surprising reflexes for his age, he managed to dodge S attack and launch himself towards him in a swift and accurate counterattack. The fight was fierce and merciless. Two titans facing off in a battle for survival. Finally, after an intense fight, the old ninja, exhausted, fell defeated, and just when he was already thought dead, the police entered the cell to rescue him from a practically certain death. Beyond worrying him, the one who would truly receive the greatest payment would be the one who emerged from the cell with a smile. At that moment, Lin's revenge passed after a few weeks, and for Lin's safety, the was put far away from him. One would think that an old man like him would try not to put his life at risk again. However, for a person of that caliber, where betrayal can only be repaid in one way, peace was not an option. It was one August afternoon when Lin's group went to exact revenge. From the moment the attempted to kill old Lin, the was written asleep in his bed, oblivious to the imminent danger. Lin and his henchmen approached cautiously, each of their movements calculated and precise. With a gesture from Lin, one of his men pulled out a sharp object and placed it on the his neck while Lin whispered words into his ear that only they could hear. The woke up with a start, but before he could react, the blade of the weapon sank into his neck with surgical precision. A moment of surprise and pain flashed through the his eyes before his life faded. Slowly, Old Man Lin moved away from the bed, coldly gazing at the lifeless body of his rival. He knew this action would unleash a wave of violence and retaliation in the prison, but he was ready to face the consequences. What punishment did Lin receive for what he did after eliminating _? Old Man Lin faced the consequences of his actions in the center. High Security Correctional Facility. SCOD, although he had managed to eliminate his rival, his act of violence did not go unnoticed by the prison authorities or the inmates who witnessed the death of _. Upon learning of the murder of _, the CECOT authorities began an exhaustive investigation to determine who was responsible. Despite Old Lin's efforts to cover up his involvement in the crime, the evidence against him was overwhelming. Witnesses, security cameras, and forensic evidence pointed to him as the mastermind of the murder. As a result of the investigation, Old Man Lin was formally charged with the murder of _, and was put on trial inside the prison. During the trial, overwhelming evidence was presented against him, including witness testimony and forensic evidence that directly linked him to the crime. Ultimately, Old Man Lin was found guilty of the murder of _, and sentenced to spend the rest of his days in solitary confinement, a sentence considered the harshest within the prison system. Solitary confinement meant that Lin would be confined to a single cell, without human contact or access to recreational activities 24 hours a day. The sentence represented a punishment even crueler than death. Isolated from the outside world and deprived of any form of social interaction, he was forced to confront himself and his own demons in the solitude of his cell, and so we come to the end of this video. If you liked it, I invite you to give us a like so we can continue making more videos like this. Also, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our new videos. I wish you a great day until the end.